All right, class, let's dive in. We're about to explore the story of one of the greatest athletes of all time, but probably not in the way you're expecting. See, this is really a journey into the mind. It's a look at the deep psychological forces that can forge a champion. We're going to uncover some really key concepts like flow, active imagination, and something I call the Atlas complex, that immense crushing pressure that can either break an athlete or create an absolute legend. So in 1912, the King of Sweden himself says this to the American athlete Jim Thorpe. It's an iconic moment in sports history, for sure. But the real story, the one we're interested in, isn't just about what happened on the field. It's about the incredible, complex, psychological journey Thorpe had to take just to get there. And let's be clear, Thorpe, a member of the Sac and Fox Nation, wasn't just competing. He was dominating on a world stage. In the pentathlon, he won 4 of the 5 events. And get this, one of them, the javelin, was an event he had never even competed in before. So this wasn't just a win, It was a massive statement. He was breaking these huge cultural barriers as the first Native American to win a gold medal for the U.S. But underneath all that glory, Thorpe was carrying this immense psychological weight. It's what I call the Atlas complex. Just try to imagine the external pressure for a second. The societal prejudice, being objectified, being seen as a kind of spectacle. Then you pile on the internal burden, that must-win spirit, the feeling that if you lose, you're letting down your team, your country, and your entire people. I mean, he was literally carrying multiple worlds on his shoulders. Now, to really understand these psychological principles in action, let's do a little thought experiment. Let's imagine a scenario. What if, just by a complete stroke of fate there in Stockholm, Thorpe's path crossed with 2 absolute pioneers of depth psychology, who just happened to be there at the exact same time? Dr. Carl Jung and his brilliant colleague, Tony Wolff. So this imagined meeting, it's like a perfect storm of powerful psychological forces. Jung and Wolff were experts in the unconscious. All those hidden feelings and past experiences that quietly shape everything we do. They understood how our unresolved personal issues can create these really complex dynamics between people, setting the stage for some truly profound insights. In our story, Jung wouldn't have seen Thorpe's struggle as some kind of lack of skill, not at all. He would have recognized it as a deep psychic entanglement. That feeling of shame from being treated like an object, it was messing with his focus. To break free from that Atlas complex, Thorpe was going to need to forge some new inner tools. Okay, so early psychology actually had a term for this kind of deep, unconscious connection. It was called participation mystique. But we have to be honest here. It's a really problematic term. Critics have rightly pointed out that it often carried this colonialist bias, a way of labeling the experiences of non-European cultures as somehow less developed. We definitely need a better framework. And that brings us to the crucial point. A much more accurate and frankly more useful term is flow. It's a concept developed by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is that incredible state, that optimal experience where you're so completely immersed in what you're doing that your self-consciousness just fades away, time gets all distorted, and your mind and body feel like one. And Thorpe himself actually described feeling this as a child, running free in Oklahoma. He said he felt the breath of the Great Spirit was guiding me. That is the state he needed to get back to. So how do you get there? Well, in our imagined story, Jung would use this amazing technique called active imagination, and it's so much more than just analyzing dreams. It's about actively engaging with them. The process is pretty straightforward, but incredibly profound. You re-enter the dream as if it's happening right now, you actually give a voice to the symbols and figures you see, and then you listen. You listen to the message your own psyche is trying to send you. And through this process, in our story, Thorpe starts to identify his inner power animals. He feels like the buffalo when he's feeling burdened and weighed down by the crowd, trapped in the mud, as he put it. But he feels like the hare when he can tap into that free, agile, childlike part of himself. And then there's the coyote, the trickster, the one who shows up to disrupt everything, but who also creates the opportunity for real change and integration. This all brings us to a really powerful framework called the Triad of Transformation, which just ties all these concepts together beautifully. Think of it like this. Synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences, is what reveals the path forward for you. Flow is the actual experience of walking that path. And individuation, the lifelong process of becoming a whole integrated self, well, that's the ultimate destination. Okay, so armed with this brand new self-awareness, Thorpe was about to face the ultimate test, the absolutely grueling 2-day, 10-event decathlon. And right on cue, on the very first day, who shows up? The Trickster. In a moment of what you might call perfect synchronicity, his shoes are stolen. I mean, this should have been a complete disaster, a total mental collapse. But instead, Thorpe finds 2 mismatched shoes in a garbage can. One is too big, so he just stuffs an extra sock in it. This is Coyote at work, just throwing chaos into the mix. But here's the key. Instead of letting this chaos defeat him, our imagined Jung helps him reframe the whole thing. He reminds Thorpe of his true Sack and Fox name, Watohok, which means path lit by lightning. All of a sudden, the obstacle isn't just some random bad luck. It's part of his destiny. It's a sign that is literally lighting up his path. And so he starts to consciously integrate these inner animals into his performance. In the long jump, on a wet, slick runway, he visualizes himself as the hare and just soars to a 3rd-place finish. In the shot put, he unleashes the raw, primal power of the buffalo, completely dominating the field. You see, he was no longer just competing. He was embodying different parts of his own psyche. He was in a state of flow. That was Thorpe's final score in the decathlon. To put that in perspective, he was nearly 700 points ahead of the silver medalist. It was an Olympic record that would stand for almost 2 decades, and he achieved it in a pair of shoes he literally found in a garbage can. That right there is the power of integrating the psyche. But Thorpe's story doesn't end with that incredible victory. That societal shadow we talked about, that cultural prejudice that put that Atlas-like weight on his shoulders to begin with, was about to cast a very long, very dark shadow over his achievement. Just a year later, his medals were stripped away. The official reason they gave was that he'd earned a few dollars playing semi-pro baseball, which was a violation of the very strict and, frankly, very classist amateurism rules of the time. It took 110 years, long after his death in 1953, for the International Olympic Committee to finally, officially, and fully restore his name as the sole winner. And that final recognition came just this year, when he was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. His granddaughter accepted it on his behalf. It was such a powerful symbol of a society finally, slowly, and painfully, starting to come to terms with an injustice that was rooted in who he was. So after this whole incredible journey, what's the big takeaway here? What can Jim Thorpe's story really teach us about our own psychological paths? Well, the story of Watohok is just a brilliant illustration of how these 3 forces, synchronicity, flow, and individuation, really catalyze transformation. Those meaningful coincidences, like the stolen shoes, they aren't just obstacles, they reveal the path. Flow is that peak state of experiencing the path, that timeless and effortless performance he talked about. And individuation, well, that's the destination, integrating all the parts of himself, the hero, the shadow, the buffalo, the hare, into one unified whole person. Ultimately, this isn't just a story about sports. It's really a map of the human psyche's journey toward wholeness. And it asks us to look at our own lives and seriously consider, what are the great challenges we're facing? What is the Atlas complex that we carry? And how can we learn to integrate all the different parts of ourselves to meet that challenge, to find our own flow, and to walk our own path lit by lightning?